In all my years of combat, I never expected to see something like this. A soldier, his body ripped apart beyond recognition. Intestines spilled out like some grotesque message. But it wasn't just the death. It was the mark on his wrist. I tried to ignore it, but I couldn't. The silence was deafening. Then the whispers started. At first, I thought it was the wind. But when I looked around, I realized something was watching us. And when I found the same mark on his wrist, I knew it was already too late. Bucha, Ukraine. The air is heavy with dust, and the ground beneath us feels like it could collapse at any moment. The helicopter hum overhead is steady, almost constant, as my team and I prepare for what lies ahead. I'm Captain Alexei Varnov, leading this team through the war-torn remnants of Bucha. I've been through hell on the battlefield before, but this place feels different. It feels like we're walking into something we can't quite understand. I stand firm, giving the orders. Secure the area. We move out in 10. My voice is steady, but beneath it, there's a tension I can't shake off. My team is here to find survivors, to document the aftermath of a war that has left this town broken. But there's a feeling in the air, something that pulls at the edges of my mind. The locals spoke of dark forces, things I didn't believe in. But standing here now, I wonder if they might be right. The team gathers around for the briefing. The sounds of maps rustling and radio crackling surround us as I outline our mission. Document the damage. Search for survivors, I say, keeping it simple. But there's a quiet seriousness in my tone. Stay alert. We don't know what we'll find in this town. The weight of the mission is evident in their eyes as they listen carefully. They're ready for this, but I can feel something shifting in the air. One by one, the soldiers speak up, giving their brief introductions. Sergeant Ivan, the older, more experienced one, says, "Sergeant Ivan, I'll keep the perimeter secure." His voice is low and steady, but even he can't hide the tension in his eyes. Yuri, the youngest, eager but nervous, says, "Private Yuri, I'll take point, Captain." His hands shake slightly as he checks his gear. I give them both a brief nod, acknowledging their roles. The seriousness of the situation is evident, but there's a strange sense of unease settling in as we begin to prepare. We begin moving through the streets, securing buildings and clearing the rubble. Boots crunch on cracked concrete as we step carefully over debris. The sounds of distant explosions echo in the background, a reminder of the violence that still lingers in the air. We've got a job to do, but I can't shake the feeling that something more than just war has scarred this place. As we push deeper into the ruins of Bucha, I mutter under my breath. Stay focused. There's work to do, I tell myself. But the warnings from the locals start to resurface in my mind. The stories of supernatural forces lingering in this town. What if they were true? Bucha, this place, feels like it's holding its breath, waiting for something. The silence of Bucha weighs heavy in the air. We step into the ruins of the town, the only sounds being the crunch of boots on broken glass and the occasional distant gunfire. Buildings lie in shambles, windows shattered, and the streets feel empty, like an abandoned world. The stillness is suffocating. The atmosphere is heavy, and I can feel the weight of it pressing down on me, as if the town is holding its breath. We move further, and the signs of Russian occupation become apparent. Destroyed homes and abandoned military vehicles scattered across the streets. There are no signs of life, just the remnants of destruction. The buildings stand, but the town feels like a ghost town, empty and forgotten. My team searches for survivors, but we find nothing. It feels like we're walking through a nightmare, each step heavier than the last. The tension builds with every corner we turn. I order the team to set up a temporary camp near a damaged building. As we gather our equipment, I notice unsettling details. The blood stain on the ground, the shattered windows with no clear cause. It's as if the town is trying to tell us something we can't see. The weight of what happened here presses on us all. The tension is unbearable as we sit in the camp, waiting for the next move. I try to shake it off, but the unease grows stronger. I'm confronted by a local elder, a frail old man, who tells me of the evil forces still lingering in the town. He warns me, his voice trembling with fear, but I dismiss him. I believe it's just the trauma speaking. These people have suffered, and fear makes them see shadows in places where there are none. But as I listen to him, I can't shake the feeling that something is very wrong here. It's hard to ignore the growing sense of dread. As the scene draws to a close, we hear strange noises echoing through the ruined streets, whispers carried by the wind, and creaking metal from the buildings settling. My team stiffens. I try to remain calm, dismissing it as the echoes of war, but even I can feel it now. A subtle foreboding presence, like the air itself is waiting for something to happen. The whispers linger, and I know deep down that something is very wrong here. The team arrives at a small village on the outskirts of Bucha. The village is quiet, far removed from the chaos we've been facing. The buildings are weathered, and the air feels thick, almost suffocating. We meet a few locals, old men and women, their eyes filled with stories they can't tell. They speak in cryptic terms, warning us about the dark presence that haunts Bucha. The devil walks these streets, one old man murmurs, shaking his head as he speaks of ancient rituals and evil forces lingering, watching. I listen carefully, but I'm still not buying it. I've been through war, seen things that no one should see, but supernatural forces, that's something I don't believe in. It's just superstition, I mutter under my breath. The war has twisted these people's minds, made them see things that aren't there. I reassure the team, focus on the mission, document the damage, find survivors. Let's not get lost in their fear. I can feel the unease creeping in, though. It's like the air is thicker here, heavy with something I can't quite explain. We continue our march deeper into Bucha, the silence becoming more oppressive with each step. The distant echoes of the village fade behind us. It's not long before the air grows colder, and I can't help but notice the faintest creak of wood, almost as if the town itself is groaning in despair. We push forward, but something inside me starts to waver. I feel it now, a weight in the air, but I won't acknowledge it. I refuse to. Psychological stress, I think. Just stress from the mission. Nothing more. Fall back, I order, trying to shake off the feeling. But it's clear that something's not right. As we turn to leave, I catch it. A movement in the shadows. Just out of sight, something shifts, almost like it's trying to follow us. The air grows colder again, and the team is visibly rattled. We exchange glances, unsure, but I keep my face stoic. There's nothing here, right? We move deeper into the ruins of Bucha, each step we take making the silence feel heavier. The sound of our boots echoes through the empty streets, filling the silence. It's strange how the world can be so quiet after so much violence. The only noise comes from the occasional radio static and our low mutterings. Then, something catches my eye. A body. It's a Russian soldier, and the sight is grotesque. His ribs are torn apart, intestines spilling out in a way I've never seen before. The horror of the scene hits me immediately. Unnatural, grotesque, wrong. This isn't something the war left behind. This is something else. We all stand frozen for a moment, staring at the body. Shock and disgust fill the air, but we can't look away. This isn't supposed to be happening. This isn't part of the mission. I order the team to document it and move on. It's war. It's the aftermath. We can't dwell on every horror we find, I say, trying to maintain control. But there's a feeling creeping in, a sense of unreality, as if the world we're in isn't quite the one we thought it was. As I try to keep the team moving, a sudden chilling whisper crackles through the radio. It's distorted, barely audible, but we all hear it. "Help," it says over and over. The static warps the voice until it sounds almost inhuman. We freeze, staring at each other, confused. The air is thick now. Something's not right. I want to brush it off. Just a glitch, just the radio, nothing more. But the body, the whispers, it's too much. Something isn't right here. I feel the weight of it all, the tension building in my chest. I order the team to fall back, but the moment I do, I feel it. The presence. The shadows shift, and I turn, eyes scanning the ruined street. We're rattled. I see it in their eyes, but I can't let my doubt show. I hold on to my skepticism, but deep down, I know we're not alone in this place. The deeper we go into Bucha, the more the atmosphere shifts. There's an oppressive stillness in the air, like something's watching us from the shadows. Our boots crunch through the rubble, but now there's a sound I can't ignore. Objects move on their own, and the lights flicker overhead. The shadows seem to shift when they shouldn't be moving. It's like the town is alive, pulling us deeper into its grip. My gut tells me something is wrong, but I shake it off. It's just the stress of the mission, the fatigue setting in. But I can't shake the feeling that we're not alone here. As we press on, I notice Yuri acting strange. At first, it's just small things. He's twitchy. His eyes dart around like he's hearing something no one else can hear. Then, he starts talking to himself. His voice shifts, low and strange, like he's trying to communicate with someone who isn't there. I hear him mutter something about the devil, about visions he's having. At first, we think he's just fatigued, but the way his voice sounds, it doesn't feel right. We stop to check on him, but it's clear something is wrong. His behavior becomes even more erratic, almost violent. He swats at the air, like he's trying to swat away invisible forces. His hands shake as he reaches for his rifle, and his eyes are wild, not focused. The team tries to calm him down, but I see the fear in their eyes. Something is happening to him. I order the team to take a break, a chance to regroup and regain focus. I need time to think, to process what's going on. But the unease in the air is getting heavier. It's like the supernatural forces in Bucha are beginning to tighten their grip. I try to rationalize it. Battle fatigue, psychological stress, I tell myself. I can't let fear take over. But a part of me knows there's something more to this. I give the order to continue, but my mind is racing. Yuri's behavior is becoming impossible to ignore. Something is wrong. Something I can't explain. We're moving through the ruins, clearing another building when suddenly, the world explodes. The sound of gunfire rips through the air, followed by the thunderous explosion of nearby shells. We take cover, but not fast enough. Sergeant Ivan is hit. I hear his grunt of pain, then the sickening sound of him collapsing. "Ivan!" I yell, rushing toward him. The Russian patrol has us pinned down, and we're stuck in the open. The rest of the team scrambles to drag him to shelter. We finally find shelter in a nearby building. It's the only place to regroup. The team breathes hard, trying to get control of the situation, but the air is thick with tension. As we move inside, I notice Yuri's behavior is off. He's staring at the floor, twitching, his face twitching like he's hearing things. Suddenly, he's on one of the soldiers. He moves with a speed I've never seen before, pinning him to the floor with unnatural strength. Grunts of struggle, followed by bone-cracking sounds, echo in the small building. Yuri's eyes are wild, almost possessed, as he laughs. Eerily, a sound that makes my blood run cold. This isn't normal. This isn't my soldier. I rush forward, trying to pull Yuri off, but then I see it. The mark on Yuri's arm. It's unmistakable. The devil's mark. My heart sinks. I knew something was wrong, but this is different. I can barely breathe. The weight of what I'm seeing feels like a punch to the gut. Is this real? Or is it just battle-induced trauma? My mind is torn. I want to believe there's a rational explanation, but it's hard to ignore the evidence right in front of me. I force myself to act. We have to fall back, I order, trying to hold it together. But the team is more divided than ever. I can see fear in their eyes. And I can feel it too. We don't know if real danger is from Russian patrols or something darker, something in Bucha. The supernatural terror is escalating, and I'm stuck in middle, torn between protecting and confronting evil within Yuri. We manage to push the Russian patrols back, but we're not unscathed. Sergeant Ivan's injuries are slowing us down, and Yuri's erratic behavior is only making things worse. Every time I look at him, he seems a little more lost, a little further gone. The atmosphere in Bucha grows heavier, suffocating us. The sense of danger from the enemy soldiers fades into something much worse, something we can't explain. The supernatural terror is growing stronger, creeping in with each passing minute. We move to our shelter, trying to regroup, but the walls feel like they're closing in. I try to keep control, ordering the team to stay focused, but my own mind is starting to crack under the pressure. The team looks at me with fear in their eyes. We're not just fighting soldiers anymore. We're fighting something else, something beyond our understanding. As I try to rationalize what's happening, strange things begin to happen around us. Objects move on their own. Furniture scraping, books falling off shelves, and a cold breeze sweeps through the room. This is no longer just the aftermath of war. Something more sinister is here, and I can feel it in my bones. I spin around, but no one is there. I force myself to focus, but the hallucinations are starting to take hold. I hear things that aren't real. The walls seem to pulse with energy, and the air feels thick, almost oppressive. I try to shake it off, to keep my team together, but I can see it in their eyes. They're hearing it too. Fear is setting in. The line between reality and something darker is starting to blur. As the team begins to fracture under the weight of the situation, I know we can't stay here. The supernatural is no longer just an idea. It's real. But even as I acknowledge this, the doubt remains. How do we fight something we don't understand? And even worse, can we stop it? I give the order to fall back, to reconsider our next steps, but I can't hide how shaken I am. The thing that's been lurking in the shadows for so long is now undeniable. Yuri's possession has escalated beyond anything I imagined. It's as if the devil himself is in control now. His body moves with unnatural speed and power, and when he attacks, it's like he's a force of nature, unstoppable, brutal. His eyes glow with malice as he lunges at the team. One by one, our soldiers fall. His strength is beyond human, and his growls fill the air as he slaughters us. The team tries to fight back, But Yuri's power is overwhelming. I shout orders, but it's like my words don't reach him anymore. He's not Yuri anymore. He's something else. The team is thrown into chaos, trying to subdue him. I grab a weapon, but every attempt to reason with him fails. It's not Yuri who's here anymore. Only the devil's will. The building shakes with each violent slam of Yuri's movements as we struggle to hold him down. Then I see it. Yuri has cornered Sergeant Ivan, and I know what's coming. He's going to kill him. I hesitate, and in that moment fear grips me. I know I have to act. But what if I'm too late? The devil's voice whispers through Yuri's lips, a sound I can't shake. Join me, or die. His words echo in my mind, filled with promise and terror. The power he offers is undeniable, and I have to make a choice. I don't have time. Ivan is moments away from death. I have to make the decision. The weight of it presses down on me, but I can't allow the devil to win. The weight of the decision presses down on me. My hand trembles, but I can't afford hesitation anymore. Yuri, my friend, my soldier, is no longer here. What's left is something possessed, something I can't allow to destroy the team. He's too far gone. I know what I have to do, but that doesn't make it any easier. I raise my weapon, my heart breaking as I think of the years we've shared, and in that moment, I pull the trigger. Yuri's body collapses, his lifeless form hitting the ground with a sickening thud. In that moment, the air seems to shift. A deep rumble reverberates through the room, as if the very environment is changing. The devil's presence is undeniable now. The team feels it. Each soldier stiffens, the room growing colder as the darkness in the air thickens. We've crossed a line that can't be undone. Then, it happens. The devil reveals himself in full form, his presence overwhelming. The room feels like it's shrinking, the very walls closing in on us. The shadows twist unnaturally, and the sound of wind howling fills the room. The devil's voice is powerful and terrifying, offering us things we can't even begin to fathom. We're at his mercy now, our fates sealed. The team fights its way through the distorted streets of Bucha, the path ahead narrowing as if the land itself is closing in on us. Trees creak unnaturally, their branches shifting in strange directions, blocking our way. We push forward, but it feels like the whole town is fighting against us, trying to hold us here. There's no clear path forward anymore, just this feeling that we're being trapped. We push on, our bodies exhausted, but the atmosphere is charged. We're getting closer to the edge of Bucha, but it feels like the devil's presence still lingers in the air, heavy and suffocating. The whispers are softer now, but they still echo in our minds. The growls, distant but unmistakable, remind us that we're still not alone. We're still being hunted. As we reach the edge of the town, I look back one last time, half expecting to see the last of the devil's influence fading into the distance. But what I see stops me cold. There, in the shadows, is the devil, his sinister smile still visible even from this distance. He stands, watching us, as though the whole ordeal was nothing but a game. I know then, this isn't over. The battle has only just begun. The battle is over. The horrors we faced are behind us, or so we thought. Alexei and the remaining soldiers are exhausted, physically and emotionally, but the questions that linger are heavier than any injury. We've lost so many, our comrades, Yuri. We've witnessed the devil's hand, and now we're left to wonder, what was his true purpose? What did he want from us? Why did he make us turn on each other? The answers evade us, leaving nothing but silence and the weight of our guilt. I hear the others talking quietly among themselves, voices strained as they try to come to terms with what happened. We argue, trying to rationalize our actions. Was killing Yuri our only option? Could we have saved him? The questions cut deep. Each of us grapples with our emotions, some feeling the sting of guilt, others just wanting to forget what we did. Tension rises as each voice speaks louder, but the answers remain, just out of reach. Then, my eyes fall to my wrist. The mark, the devil's mark, was on Yuri's arm, but now it's on mine. My heart skips a beat. I stare at it in disbelief. The mark is unmistakable, burning into my skin, a silent reminder of the devil's power. My breath catches in my throat as a quiet gasp escapes me. We may have left Bucha, but the devil didn't let us go. He's still here, still controlling us. I feel the weight of his presence growing stronger. It's as if the world itself is closing in on me, suffocating me with his influence. We sit in silence as we drive, the weight of everything we've endured settling in the air between us. The loss, the terror, the unknown. It all feels too much to bear. The vehicle moves slowly through the ruined landscape, but the world outside is nothing compared to the chaos inside my mind. Doubt gnaws at me. We thought we escaped, but the feeling of unease won't go away. The team is silent, lost in their own thoughts, processing what just happened, unsure of what's real and what isn't anymore. As I sit there, lost in thought, the driver, who's been eerily quiet this whole time, suddenly turns to face me. I freeze. His eyes glow red, burning through the dark cabin of the vehicle. A sinister smile spreads across his face. I can feel my heart drop into my stomach. This is it. The devil's influence hasn't left us. It's still here. The team and I are not free. I look down at my wrist, hoping this is all a nightmare, but it's not. The mark, the devil's mark, is still there. And then, his voice fills my mind. It's not a whisper. It's a command. You cannot escape, Alexei. You belong to me now. The words echo, twisting in my head like a dagger. The reality of it hits me hard. We never escaped. The devil was never really gone. And now, he's taking us with him.